All right, so today I thought we could talk about ChatGPT. So if you haven't heard of ChatGPT, it's this artificial intelligence AI chatbot. I feel like you can't look at anything on the internet or hear anything on the TV or radio without hearing somebody talking about it. Either it's going to take over all our jobs, or it's ruining term papers, or whatever. So I thought, being some Scrum trainers, we pride ourselves on knowing the Scrum pretty well. Why don't we throw some Scrum questions at ChatGPT, see how it does? Maybe it'll get some things right, maybe not. What do you think?
I'm into it. I would have loved to have had this tool when I was writing term papers and have nobody know about it because this thing is just it's insane. So
Right.
yeah, let's
Cool.
ask it some Scrum questions.
What do you think? What should we start with?
What is Scrum?
What is Scrum? Baby, don't hurt me. Scrum is a framework for managing projects, particularly software development projects, developed to help teams work together more effectively and deliver high quality products on time within budget. Okay,
Ooh,
I don't like that so much. That's pretty projecty speak there. Okay, Scrum is an agile methodology, which means it's designed to be flexible and adaptable to changing requirements. Okay, that part's okay. Agile development's an iterative process, meaning it involves repeating cycles of development, testing, and feedback. Okay. Scrum framework consists of several roles: Scrum Master, Product Owner, Development Team. That's older language. Scrum new Scrum Guide doesn't say roles and also doesn't say development team, says developers. Scrum Master is responsible for facilitating the process. I have some problems with that. Ensuring the team is following the Scrum rules. So it's saying the Scrum Master is essentially a Scrum cop who's going to hit you over the head with a Scrum stick if you step outside the rules. I don't like that so much. Product owner is the person who represents the stakeholders responsible for vision and goals of the project. Okay, I'm on board with that conceptually.
they keep talking about project and using it
Yeah,
interchangeable with product.
yeah, that's not so great. Development team, again, outdated language, is a group of people who are actually doing the work of building the product. Okay. Scrum includes ceremonies.
Ooh,
Boo. I want to put up my hood and start chanting. Scrum includes ceremonies such as the sprint planning, daily Scrum, sprint review, sprint retrospective, which are used to keep the team on track, ensure everyone is aligned and work together effectively. Scrum is widely used in software development, has been successfully applied to other industries as well, including manufacturing, healthcare, finance. If you're looking to know more detail about how Scrum works and its practices, it'd be best to look for the Certified Scrum Master Training and Certification Program.
what is ChatGPT now working for Scrum Alliance?
Apparently, because we would, as professional Scrum trainers with Scrum.org, we would probably recommend the Professional Scrum Master certification over the CSM, which is a can of tuna for another day. Okay, so what do you guys think?
I
This we've had some boos, we've had some jeers. Overall thoughts on this first question?
I I'll go first. I don't know if
Okay.
Greg's got any ideas here, but this agile methodology nonsense, it's not an agile methodology. It's a framework. Yeah, it got I don't know, it got quite a bit wrong where I'm like, I wouldn't give this a passing grade. So if someone were writing a Scrum term paper, this is getting thrown off my desk.
Okay, Greg, what do you think?
Well, I think it's a pretty common response when you ask people what Scrum is. If they think they know what Scrum is, this is what you're going to hear. I think you might get this a response from typical project management type environments. And I'm not going to say project managers per se, but typical project management environments would give a response similar to this. Again, there's just missing some of the specifics which actually do matter, and the semantics do matter. So yeah, we're missing some of the core aspects here, but I think it's fairly common. I don't hear anything here that I haven't heard before or a dozen times.
Yeah, I think those are my overall thoughts as well. I mean, my first glance is to say it's getting core concepts mostly right, and it's just getting some word choices wrong. Do those word choices really matter? But I agree with you, Greg. I think those word choices do really matter. Like development team versus developers. Okay, I'm not going to jump up and down over somebody about that. That's a change the Scrum Guide made about 2 years ago to say developers instead of development team. Fine, fair enough. But some of this project management mentality that you just seeing seep into this, like the very first paragraph, it says it's focusing on products on time and within budget. That's not how we measure the success of a Scrum team, right? We measure the success of, are we delivering value? How frequently are delivering value? Are we satisfying our customers? Are we learning and adapting? So,
And
I
accomplishing
think
goals.
are we meeting the goals, product goals, sprint goal, things like that?
And
So
are we
I think
adapting
there's
when we
some,
realize we're not?
yeah, because you can blindly move forward on meet something on time and on budget, and nobody likes it, nobody wants it, nobody buys it. Is that success? I wouldn't say so. So,
Yep.
and of course,
Find it kind of shocking. There was no mention of empirical process control at all.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
where's empiricism? I think that's a huge miss.
It's also
Yeah,
missing all of
especially-
Scrum theory.
right.
Nothing in here about lean thinking. Nothing in here about, empirical process control, like you said.
Yeah, did it even mention anything about reducing risk? I don't see that anywhere either.
Nope.
No. All right, so
Oh yeah,
maybe 50-50 at best.
I'd give it
You
a
know,
60%.
Yeah, I was gonna say
Get
about
like a
50
D or an
60.
F.
Yeah. All right. How about what else are we asking about Scrum? Let's say since we were just talking about it's lack of empirical process control, and actually without referring to it by name, that on time, on budget, it's really more defined process control. Kind of the 2 points of that iron triangle. Let's say what makes a Scrum team successful. Several factors contribute to the success of a Scrum team. Some key elements. Ooh, and it's giving us a list. Clear goals and priorities. Okay. Team should have a clear understanding of the objectives as well as the priorities for each sprint. This helps ensure the team is focused on the most important tasks, that everyone's working towards the same goals. I'm buying that so far.
Yeah.
Strong collaboration and communication. Scrum teams rely heavily on effective collaboration and communication to be successful. Team members should be able to openly share information, ideas, provide constructive feedback to one another. Fair. Self-organization. Scrum teams should be self-organizing. Current Scrum guy would say self-managing, but let's keep going. Which means that the team members should be able to take ownership of their work, make decisions without relying on a manager or leader to tell them what to do. Wow, it's given us a long list here. 4, flexibility and adaptability. Should be able to adapt to changing circumstances and requirements. Should be able to handle uncertainty and change in a constructive and efficient way. 5, empowered product owner. Product owner is a representative of stakeholders of the business. Should be able to make key decisions on product backlog, prioritize user stories, effectively communicate, keep everybody on the same page. Okay. 6, certified Scrum Master. You were doing so well, ChatGPT. 6, certified Scrum Master to lead and guide the team, implementing Scrum framework and practices, removing any obstacles, and keeping the team aligned to the Scrum values and principles. Okay, let's come back to that one. And 7, continuous improvement. Scrum teams should be committed to continuous improvement, which means that they should be constantly looking for ways to improve their processes and practices to deliver better results. All in all, a successful Scrum team is one that's able to work together effectively, deliver high-quality products on time and within budget. There's that project-y language again. Team that's committed to continuous improvement, open communication, flexibility, clear goals, priorities, and strong leadership. All right. What do you guys think?
I give this a passing grade. Like, this is pretty strong, aside from it doesn't really understand that a certified Scrum Master is actually a brand.
Right.
So had they been more generic and just removed the word certified, that would have been correct. And then this whole delivering quality products on time and within budget, that's the only other part I have an issue. But, that's a couple of points off. Yeah, I mean, on time, on budget isn't always the goal. I mean, sometimes you realize, hey, we're going to be on time, but it's the wrong thing. And I know this is what you asked for, but things have changed. Are you sure you still want this thing? And that's really kind of the point of Scrum, is adapting to those changes, not necessarily getting to where you thought you were going to get on day one, but getting to the place you actually need to be at the end of this thing.
Right, which it does highlight in item 4, flexibility and adaptability. So it does do that, but then it kind of circles back to that sort of predetermined time and budget idea at the end in that summary. All right, Greg, what do you think?
Well, I'll throw something out here. So I like the continuous improvement mention. I think that is a pretty important aspect. I know it was already kind of highlighted there a little bit, but learning organizations is a big topic now. If you aren't one, that's a problem. It's embedded in Scrum. And I like that it was highlighted. Overall, I would also say this gets a passing grade. There may be some specifics that it should try to avoid, but other than that, I'm pretty good on this.
Okay. Yeah, I would agree. I think overall a B. I would give it as a grade, right? I mean, it's giving me a list of 7 things. Clear goals and priorities, check. Strong collaboration communication, check. Self-organization, new Scrum guy would say self-management, but check.
Well, to
Cla-
this tool's defense, isn't it based on data on the internet from prior to 2 years ago?
Yeah, I want to say like 2021. Let's ask it. What's the latest information you have in terms of time? How recent are your answers?
What if it knows?
My knowledge cutoff date is 2021, and my last update was on that date. Okay. So, and now it's telling me what it is and how it's a language model and it can't access the internet right now. So, even 2021, I mean, the
should've
latest
just
Scrum
copied the
guide
Scrum
came
guide.
in, yeah, November 2020. So,
All right, well then it should have these answers right.
it really should, yeah. But there's a lot of language out there on the internet. I mean, Rob, I know I've been in your classes before, and I've heard you say, and I've actually started co-opting because every great Scrum trainer steals from another trainer. I started saying in my classes, if you want to fail any of your certification exams, Google the questions, and use those answers as to what you find, because there's a lot of bad info on the internet and stuff that's not really related to professional Scrum, right? So some of these things that it's finding, or that it's using as its answer is probably from either older versions of the Scrum Guide when that was still the most recent, or I don't know, just stuff that doesn't align with the Scrum Guide, which is pretty popular as well.
Yeah, and I think that kind of drove some of the reason why we're kind of going through this exercise is, can ChatGPT replace your Scrum trainer? And so far, I'm not thinking so. And if you
Right.
don't know enough to know the difference, you end up learning the wrong thing, or you'll learn outdated information, or what happens to be repeated the most on the internet, things like that. And not always is it right.
Yeah.
So,
Any other? I feel like we could get one more Scrum question in here. Any
what's
other?
the point of Scrum?
Ooh.
Steven knows that. What's the whole point?
What's the point of Scrum? Is it going to give us on time and on budget? What's it going to give us? The main point of Scrum is to provide a framework for managing complex projects and products, particularly in the field of software development. It's designed to help teams work together more effectively and deliver high-quality products on time and within budget.
Within budget. Oh,
Scrum is based on the Agile philosophy, emphasizing flexibility, adaptability, ability to respond quickly to changing requirements. The Agile approach is based on the idea that it's difficult to predict exactly what a product will look like at the end of a project, and that requirements will change over time. Scrum provides a structure for accommodating this uncertainty, embracing change, so that teams can deliver high-quality products and meet the needs of their customers and stakeholders. Scrum emphasizes transparency, inspection, and adaptation. Hey, an empiricism mention. Great. As a way of managing and improving a process. The goal is to create an environment where stakeholders, customers, and the development team can see the progress of the project and make adjustments as needed. Ultimately, the main objective of Scrum is to build and deliver valuable and useful products to the customers by providing a practical and efficient way of working that empowers teams to deliver incrementally and continuously. All right, Rob, give me your thoughts. What do you think?
oh man. Well, I was hoping to see something about providing done increments in a short time frame, something like
Yeah.
that. I'm not sure
Yeah.
I saw that anywhere even kind of close. The point of Scrum is not to provide a framework. The point of Scrum is to get work done. It's to adapt. That's the point of Scrum. It is a framework. So the goal is not to provide a framework. It is
Right.
to actually get work done. Scrum is a framework. Yeah, that's what I got. I don't know. Greg, any thoughts? I don't want to take them all here.
I feel like it's really similar to the Scrum question. What is Scrum? So I'm not feeling too great about it. It did mention empiricism, so it gets a little +1 because I heart empiricism. But I'd be curious what ChatGPT thinks about creating a definition of done. Could it do it for my team? Actually ran that experiment the other day. I was surprised at the results. They weren't awful. I wasn't too mad at it, but
Okay.
yeah.
Yeah, I think I would agree. I would give this passing. I think it's better than what is Scrum. I think I like its answer better. It mentions transparency, inspection, and adaptation, which empiricism. it still throws in that on time within budget. So it's really got a high connection there to this defined process control or traditional project management thinking. Which again, I don't mind things being on time and on budget, but that's not a guarantee of success. It talks a lot about responding to change, to be flexible, adaptable. So I'd probably give this one a B minus, maybe. If
Yeah, and
someone didn't
actually,
know much, go ahead.
I was going to backpedal on one of my answers. So it said the beginning part says the main point of Scrum is to provide a framework. Now, looking at the last paragraph, it's talking about ultimately the main objectives of Scrum is to build and deliver valuable and useful products to the customers.
Yeah.
So it kind of contradicts a little bit part one, but it I guess it ultimately does answer my question. So I'm going to give it 5 more points.
Okay. Just like Whose Line Anyway, where the points don't really matter.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I would give this a B minus maybe. Overall, does it get it right? Yeah, kind of in an inconsistent manner. Some of the terminology I think will throw some people off. If you didn't know anything about Scrum, it'd give you a mostly accurate, but I think incomplete and somewhat confusing picture of what Scrum is. But I'm really interested in what Craig said there a minute ago. Like, what would it say about definition of done? What if we asked it to create a definition of done? What would that do? So, maybe this can be the start of some more discussion. If you out there in YouTube land, if you're watching this, you've got some ideas you want us to throw at ChatGPT and see what our responses are. There's a comment section below, so go ahead and throw some suggested questions, and maybe we'll do this again soon. Anyway, that's all I got. Thanks for watching.